It's hard to know where to begin when your entire life feels like a slow-burning tragedy wrapped in layers of betrayal, trauma, and, eventually, escape. I'm almost 30 now, and for the past decade, I've worked tirelessly to build a new life from the ashes of a past I don't talk about lightly. I had a fraternal twin sister, a mirror of me in age, but not in soul. For years, I tried to forget the damage my family caused me, tried to convince myself that distance equaled healing. But monsters don't always stay under the bed, and my estranged twin and abusive parents would prove they could stretch their reach even across oceans of time and space. From the very beginning, I wasn't wanted. My parents had struggled with infertility for years and were told throughout the pregnancy that they were having a boy. When I came into the world, not only was I not the boy they expected, but I had a personality that didn't conform to their fantasy either. The disappointment was palpable from the moment I was born. My sister, on the other hand, let's call her Sarah, was their golden child. Everything she did was praised, while everything I did was either ignored or punished. The favoritism was extreme and cruel, and Sarah learned early on that she could use it to her advantage. Our house was a war zone masked as a middle-class suburban home. It looked normal from the outside, freshly cut grass, hanging flower pots on the porch, but behind the front door was a fortress of pain. My father, a man who believed raising daughters was beneath him, was cold, distant, and violent. My mother, a bitter woman obsessed with appearances, used emotional manipulation like a scalpel. And Sarah? Sarah was the grinning executioner, cloaked in innocence. She used our parents' disdain for me as a weapon, setting me up for punishments she orchestrated and watching gleefully as I was screamed at, beaten, or locked away in the basement. When we were teenagers, it got worse. Sarah would steal or hide her things and claim I'd taken them, sending my father into fits of rage. Sometimes I was padlocked in the basement, allowed out only for school and meals. I had a small unfinished bathroom down there, a sink and a cold cement floor. Other times, I wasn't so lucky. I remember one night when I was 17, Sarah and I argued over something stupid, probably one of her elaborate setups. As I turned to leave the room, she pushed me down the basement stairs. I heard my own scream echo off the walls as I tumbled, breaking my arm, splitting my head open, and blacking out from the pain. When I came to, my parents were already covering it up. She fell, they insisted. She's clumsy. And they forced me to repeat the lie at the hospital. That moment defined the rest of my life. I realized that as long as I stayed, I would never be anything but a punching bag for people who were supposed to love me. 2 months later, right after graduation, I packed what little I had and left. A few trusted friends helped me disappear. I changed my name legally at 21, cut ties, and buried the past behind a mountain of therapy and court orders. I built a new identity, a new life. I became someone else entirely, stronger, smarter, independent. I met my husband a few years later, a kind man with a gentle soul and a family that was warm and accepting. We got married quietly, surrounded by love and without a single trace of my old life invited. I thought I was free, but monsters never stay dead, especially when someone leaves the door open. It started with an email, sent to my work account, tied to my new name. I was stunned when I saw the sender, Sarah. 17 years of silence, and there she was, forcing herself back into my life with a few keystrokes. The email wasn't a heartfelt apology. It was a guilt trip disguised as nostalgia. She said things like, "We're twins, we're supposed to be close," and lamented how she missed me without ever acknowledging what she'd done. Worst of all, she mentioned my upcoming wedding anniversary. How did she even know? How did she get my email? I found out quickly. My sister-in-law, let's call her Kim, had a blog. She's a small-time influencer who writes about relationships and family. In a misguided attempt to inspire her followers with our reconciliation story, she had posted parts of my past. Not the gory details, just hints. Enough for Sarah to find me. Enough to make her think she had a right to come back. At first, it was just emails. Then came the phone calls, angry, desperate, accusing. I issued a cease and desist. Things went quiet. I thought that was the end. But it was just the beginning of a deeper nightmare. One evening, during dinner at my in-laws, Kim stood up and said she had a surprise for me. She had driven Sarah up over 26 hours to reconnect us. My body froze. I have complex PTSD because of Sarah. Her presence sends me into spirals. My in-laws rushed me into the back room while my husband stormed outside to confront Kim. She was clueless. Sarah had told her I was exaggerating everything, that she never hurt me, that I'd been manipulated. Sarah was in the driveway, crying for the police when they arrived. But my in-laws had receipts, the cease and desist order, the history of abuse. The officers escorted her to the airport that night. You'd think that would be it, right? A final dramatic exit. But drama was just her warm-up. In the weeks that followed, Kim was ostracized by her own family. My mother-in-law, a retired domestic violence advocate, was livid. My husband gave me full control over if, or when I'd ever accept an apology from Kim. The answer was never. She had crossed a line. She didn't just invite trauma into our lives, she chauffeured it in. Then the real circus began. My grandparents-in-law, staunch defenders of family unity, started pressuring us to forgive. I refused. So did my husband. We canceled the holiday gatherings we were set to host. The backlash was swift and petty. They accused me of being divisive, of tearing the family apart. One even sent a message calling me immature for banning Kim from her home. It escalated from there. One day, Kim showed up with Sarah and my grandparents-in-law at my workplace. I'm a midwife. I work with fragile women, babies, and immunocompromised patients. And they had the audacity to bang on the locked clinic door, demanding to see me. My nurse calmly told them to leave, then called the police. They were issued trespass warnings. I was shaken to my core. As if that wasn't enough, Sarah began spinning new lies. She sent messages to mutual friends, old acquaintances, even my college dorm mate, claiming I was in an abusive marriage. She said I was covered in bruises, malnourished, and pregnant. I'm infertile, something she knew. I had my tubes tied years ago after emergency surgery. Yet she clung to this fantasy that I was being held hostage by a man who adored me. Our attorney got involved, compiling all her claims as we built a wall of legal protection. But Sarah's grip on reality was slipping. She broke into our house, stole small items, took my mother-in-law's car, and fled to her boyfriend's place across state lines. She was arrested shortly after for drug possession. My husband was crushed. Despite everything, he'd loved his sister once. Her spiral broke something in him. Then came the straw that shattered the camel's back. My biological parents resurfaced. They had been lying low, hiding behind their pious image. But once Sarah was hospitalized after a breakdown, triggered by their emotional abuse, they tried to rewrite history. Claimed she was unstable. Claimed they were the victims. Claimed I was mentally unwell and under my husband's control. They tried to buy a house near us but failed due to massive debt, some of it accrued using my stolen identity. My mother, whom I call egg donor, spent over $90,000 on Sarah's wedding and honeymoon. Now she was broke and desperate. They tried to open credit accounts in my name. I had already frozen my credit, locked my SSN, and flagged my identity. They failed. And when they were caught, they spiraled, homeless, humiliated, and finally kicked out by extended family. My grandfather, who once defended them, now refused to house them after discovering the full extent of their lies. Sarah was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. My mother is now in jail after attacking my father and a police officer. My father left her, tried to return to the family, and was met with silence. My abusers have turned on each other, and I, at long last, am free. We moved overseas. Didn't tell a soul. Bought a house. I'm finally starting IVF treatment with my husband. I cry when I look at him sometimes, not from pain, but from the realization that love this real can exist after so much darkness.
This is my story.
One of survival, one of freedom, one of building a family on my own terms, far from the broken one that tried to destroy me. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this story or related to any part of it, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more stories like this, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindle Stories for more emotional journeys of healing, strength, and reclaiming your life.